Howdy. I guess the spotlight's on. Actually, this is kind of weird. I'm just going to make this up as I go. But my mom's out there, and actually I'm going to have her come up, and I'm going to get her a chair. She doesn't know this. And so, would you come up, Mom? My mom supported me through this whole thing. And this isn't my story. It's our story. Okay, so, just, I'm a little bit anxious. I'm just going to get out of the way and tell you I am. And I might cry a little bit.
Okay.
But that's okay. And I'm just going to kind of tell you what I did, and I think there's a lot of value in that. Okay, so who am I and why I'm up here? So I, just a regular guy, is born and raised in Longview. I went away to college and down to California for about 5 years, and I have a wonderful family, and I moved back to Longview in 2007, and I had everything going for me. I had job offers I was turning down because they weren't good enough. I ran the Portland Marathon 2 weeks before this kind of story starts. I didn't run it. I walked the Portland Marathon 2 weeks before, so I was in good shape by anyone's standards. And okay, so here we go. So I was having some stomach issues, and I couldn't go to the bathroom for like a week. And I'm going to jump around a little bit, but I couldn't go to the bathroom for like a week, and I kind of was just gutting it out and saying, oh, I'll handle this. You know, I'm a guy. I figured out I didn't have insurance at the time. I had just moved back from California, and I didn't have a job at 27. You know, aren't worried about insurance too much. And basically, I went to the hospital one day in just excruciating pain, and they took this x-ray of my abdomen, and in the x-ray, and you shouldn't normally see stuff on x-rays like this, there was just huge masses of something, and they didn't really know what it was. And they thought it could be a couple different things, but it wasn't this real rare thing, this cancer. And so I, was in pain, and they did the studies, and just cut to the quick. So I was diagnosed on October 22nd, 2007 with this really, really rare cancer called pseudomyxoma peritoni. And so it's really weird, because all I remember is I was in the hospital, and I could picture this, and I knew that I was sick, but I didn't know how sick I was. And I remember I was laying in the hospital bed, and the doctor came up and said, Aaron, it's this thing we didn't think it was, this really rare thing called pseudomyxoma peritoni. And I was on morphine, and I just asked him one question. Is this going to kill me? He said, yes. That's it. And I know there was a conversation, but I didn't hear it. That was all I remember. Is I was lying there, it was just me and the doctor, and that was it. And they told my mom a minute later or whatever, and she just instantly threw up right in the hospital waiting room, and I don't blame her. And they didn't know anything about this. Nothing. They went to the computer on Wikipedia, and they printed out the Wikipedia page for what I had. And they gave me the Wikipedia page. And it's not real information. But that's all they had. And that's all I had. And the doctors said, he probably has about 7 days to live. And we can do palliative care, and there might be this doctor that can help you out in Seattle, but 7 days is what they gave me. And I've made it. It's 5 years now. But it's kind of where it begins. So we called this doctor in Seattle, and I had 7 days, and he didn't get back to me in 4. And so on the 4th or 5th day, we gave up on him, and we realized, and my family realized, that we need to make our own path. We needed to do this. Nobody knows about this. The local people don't know. The doctor in Seattle doesn't get back to me, and we need to do this. So my sister, who was getting her master's at Princeton, she left school, and she came back to help me. And my mom was right there with me too, and everyone was around. My dad was there, everybody's there. And basically what we started doing, and this wasn't me, I was in such a state of shock. I couldn't move. I couldn't move. I was in the hospital for the 7 days, and then I just went home, and I don't know how to describe how it feels when you're told that. And especially when you have no way out. My world that day got so small. I had all these things, but my world got so small, and I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see tomorrow. I didn't know what was going to happen, and it didn't look good if I tried to look, so I didn't. But my sister came home, and so she started doing research, and they looked it up, and they found out that there have been some people that survived this, and they found out that maybe there was something. So we looked it up, and there was only 200 cases a year that happened of this, and there had only been like 1,000 or something in the United States ever. And we found 3 doctors that had done the surgery more than 30 times, and there were only 3 in the United States that had ever done it more than 30 times. And this is all experimental, and so it's easy to talk about the facts, so I'll get through this easy. So basically, I interviewed these different doctors, and I went to Omaha, Nebraska, interviewed a doctor that said, we'll kind of cut most of it out, and your quality of life's going to be okay, but you may not live very long. And I interviewed another doctor, and they said, we're going to go in and cut every piece out we can, and we're going to do this experimental surgery, and we're going to do this experimental chemo during surgery, and we're just going to attack this, and we'll see what happens. And I mean, I looked at the surgical notes today, and the first thing on there was death. And going in, I think the number that I had in my head was 10%, just right there that day. But this is a surgery I wanted, because I'm 27, and I needed a long-term solution. So in this time, I don't know, like I was present, but I was just kind of seeing these doctors and listening, and my mom was there, my sister was there to help me make decisions, my grandmother was there, and it was just amazing. So I choose to do this surgery, and I get it about 2 months after I was diagnosed. And so the thing I had was pretty serious, and this is how serious it was. So it's stage 4 from the beginning, if that's not obvious. And it was this very unique mucinous appendiceal cancer, where my appendix creates this mucus that spreads throughout my entire cavity of my abdomen, and it's like the lubrication between your organs, if you want to think of it like that, so that they don't rub up against each other. So that got infected, and that put like spores of cancer everywhere, and it got on every single organ in my abdomen. So I had this surgery, and so I looked at this today with the nurse, and was like, okay, what actually did they take out? And starting from the top, they took out half of my diaphragm, most of my liver. They took out my appendix. They removed my spleen. They removed my gallbladder. They removed like 75% of my large intestine, 50% of my small intestine, They removed 70% of my stomach. I didn't have a stomach left. They removed like half of my bladder. They removed the augmentum, which is in there too. I don't know, there's 10 things they removed, or took big chunks of. And somehow, after they removed 11.7 pounds of cancer and organs from my body, I survived. And I was broken. I came home and I couldn't walk really. I'd had this huge thing, 11.7 pounds of cancer. I mean, babies are born at 5 or at 8 pounds and they're one chunk. Yeah. This is 12 pounds, piece by piece by piece, of these things that you need. But I went with this real aggressive thing and it worked. And so I don't know, in this time, I had so many people, and this is really the story, is I had so many people around me that made this possible. I don't even know people's names. I had one lady at church, Pat, came up and said, I want to raise money for you, and I want to help you this way. And I said, good luck. I mean, you're not going to raise a dime. I mean, I'm just some kid that moved back to Longview. And they raised a lot of money. And everybody helped out. So I was in a fraternity, and they did a fundraiser in Seattle and raised $20,000. I had been in Switzerland earlier that year with my sister, and they did this fundraiser and raised $20,000. They did things at the church, and basically, I didn't have any money to do this. I'm a kid. And I didn't have insurance, and one person, or a lot of people, but somebody's idea that I barely knew impacted my life, and they raised like over $80,000 for me. It's amazing. And then with insurance, I talked to one woman on the phone, and this just shows compassion. I told her my scenario, and she's like, well, here's how to break the rules, and let's get you some insurance. And I got insurance. And I don't know, it's just, I'm kind of rambling, but it's amazing just how this works. So other people got me through this. Strangers got me through. People donated money that I'd never met, will never meet. It's amazing, just the love that people have, and compassion people have. So, I don't know, so now I've had this surgery, and I'm broken. My body doesn't work. I had heard some statistic that said I'm probably only going to live a couple years. And when you come home and you can barely move and you can't eat and you're told you're only going to live a couple years, you don't want to do anything. And maybe some of you can relate to this. Your world is over. And I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to do anything. I just stayed in, and my mom kept me going. And my sister stayed home for a year and kept me going. And my family was there and kept me going. But I wasn't doing anything. I was stuck in this place where there was no reason to make friends. There was no reason to do anything. I was broken mentally and physically, and I don't know. And then I did chemo. I went to the local cancer center and I did chemo for 6 months, and they did a great job. And I want to thank them. A lot of them are here. And so I don't know how. So the story is. So how did I get unbroken? So I was in this horrible place, and like for a year I didn't do anything. I went to my doctor's appointments. I came back. I slept in. I was horribly depressed. I can look back and say that. And I couldn't do anything, and I was in horrible shape. I weighed 30 pounds less than I do now, which no one should be that skinny. And basically, I needed a way to get out of myself, if that makes any sense. My world was so small, and I couldn't do anything. I had no reason to build relationships or to work or do anything. And I think my mom had the idea to volunteer at the cancer center. And so about a year and a half after my surgery, I was like, okay, I can't, I'm in bad shape. I can do 4 hours worth. I volunteered 4 hours. And in that 4 hours, it was an amazing experience. And it was a way for me to kind of get out of myself. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just was a way for me to just escape. And I like that, because I didn't want to be where I was. And so I would volunteer 4 hours, and that took up all my energy. That's how physically bad I was for the week. And after doing that for like 6 months, I volunteered twice a week for 8 hours total. And I got a little bit better. And basically, I started helping other people and doing things outside of myself. And by doing those things outside of myself, I got better. Somehow that works. And I got better. And I could volunteer 8 hours then. And then I started to do other things in the community and in church and other places. And then I could do 10 hours worth of stuff a week. And then after another couple of months, I could do maybe 20. And now I'm doing pretty good. But I don't know how to describe it, but somehow through volunteering and through doing these things, I got better. And I don't really know, but I really just, my main point of this whole thing is that when I was diagnosed, my world got so small. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do anything. And people held me up. My mom was there. My sister was there. My grandmother was there. My family was there. The community was there. People were raising money all over in Switzerland. People I didn't know. And when I couldn't do it for myself, other people did it. And my surgery and everything I did was experimental. And real experimental. And this is how they get money for those things. This right here, this $225,000 is what saved my life. This is it. It's people came together and held me up when I couldn't. And people before me made it possible that they even did the research so that me, a guy they don't know, could maybe get help. And that's amazing. And that's what I really think this is about, is when you're diagnosed, or at least when I was diagnosed, I couldn't do anything. And I became physically and mentally broken, and other people held me up. I don't know how to say that in a better way, but that's it. Other people held me up, and things like my mom being there for me saved my life. Things like my sister coming home from school and researching doctors and finding the right doctors and helping me make these decisions and choosing this experimental surgery with me saved my life. My grandmother, who went to Baltimore with me to get this surgery and held me up when I was there, saved my life. The community that rallied around me, people I didn't know. I don't know most of you. People I don't know, people in the community sat money into me. It made it possible for me to live. It made it possible for me to move forward. It made it possible to get out of my side of myself. And made it possible to feel better and to live again. You did that. Strangers came up and gave me hugs. People sent me cards. People donated. People got me through this. just the compassion out there is amazing. $80,000 I raised in like 3 or 4 months. It was amazing. I don't know how to thank this kind of thing, this kind of program enough. Because horrible things happen, and we can get through this. And how do we do it? We do it together. We do things like this to help somebody tomorrow that gets diagnosed, so that the experimental stuff is ready. I don't know. That's my main focus right there, is that I couldn't do it, and people help me, and you are those people, and this kind of thing saves people's lives, and it saved my life directly. 5 years ago, someone doing this saved my life by being here. It saved me by doing this. I just want to thank everybody, because it's just amazing. You held me up when I couldn't do it, and it's just amazing. And I don't know, that's all I got.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for sharing your story with us. Thank you. We truly appreciate it.